Welcome to Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973, an inspirational podcast about the ups and downs of life and everything in between. Here's your host, Shane Lakita.
Hey everyone, before we get started on the podcast today, I just wanted to share something with you. So as you all know, I'm looking out for relationships and trying to build different networking aspects of the podcast to be able to reach out to different companies and different brands to be able to bring them in the loop in creating some sponsorships for the show. So I found one in this company called Podcorn. It's basically a website, www.podcorn.com, and they are sponsoring this episode that we are recording right now. And basically what Podcorn is, it's a marketplace that connects brands and podcasts for sponsorships. So basically it takes all the different pain and suffering that goes into trying to be able to navigate reaching out to different companies, reaching out to different brands, but rather it puts it all into one little marketplace and location for these companies to work together. I've used it in the past, and I'm using it right now with the company, actually Podcorn itself. So if you're interested in reaching out to or finding a sponsorship or building a relationship with a brand or a company, you can go to www.podcorn.com, log right in, create an account, and you can really start to be able to create some on-demand, really good sponsorships for the podcast that you're recording or whatever it is you're trying to be able to brand to move forward. So like I said before, this episode is sponsored by Podcorn, and I'll also layer in right into the body of the show, you'll see the link that I'm going to post right in there for podcorn.com. So you can also go and check them out, see what they have to offer for services and everything else. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and get started with the show. Hey, good morning, friends. Good morning, everyone listening to the podcast here on Coffee Talk with Liquidshano 1973. You're here again with another episode with me to be able to invest in you, invest in me, and we can invest in each other to make sure that we can continue to move forward, be the best version of ourselves, to achieve all the things we want to achieve, and really just lean in, especially when times are difficult and hard. I mean, many of you know exactly what's going on lately and all the things that have been happening, whether it's in the news, whether it's with viruses, whether it's with racial inequality, whether it's through Capitol Hill stuff, or whatever it is that's going on in the world. There's all kinds of noise happening. This podcast here is a great way to be able to sit down, right-size our mind, maybe vent a little bit, maybe talk about some stuff that we want to be able to talk about, but it gets us going on the right path. And all of us want to be able to achieve great things. All of us want to be able to achieve goals. All of us want to be able to achieve aspirations. All of us really, at the end of the day, just want to be the best version of us, don't we? I mean, I know I do. And for me specifically, this podcast is part of that. This podcast gives me a forum and an outlet to be able to just get things right and try to be able to get through things, but also get through things in a way that is actually productive. I mean, how many of you during this whole entire quarantine stage and all of this stuff as we've been quarantining and boxing ourselves in and keeping ourselves protected and not going out to the public places, which we should be doing. We shouldn't be going out to the public places. So if we're all stuck inside, how many of you have actually had weight gains during this time frame, or stress levels increased during this time frame? Or I think some people are even making the joke about it being the COVID-19 pounds that they've been added on to where they're at, where they're trying to lose weight or just gaining in general because of the amount of stress that we've been through. And it's natural and it's okay. And listen, at the end of the day, if that's how you were able to get through the stresses that you have to get through, then okay, so be it. But just know you want to be able to give yourself an out. You want to be able to give yourself a plan to be able to come back and be stronger, be wiser, and those kind of things. Learn from your mistakes that you've made in the past. Learn from the things that you've done. Learn from the whole entire time frame that we've been quarantined and know what your triggers are. So I know what my stress is. I know where I'm at with everything. I know that I shouldn't be doing it, but I do it because my human nature side of me kicks in and those cravings kick in. And then I just eat really poorly because I base it on everything else that's going on. And why even focus around that right now when I've got bigger things to worry about, right? But at the end of the day, we need to invest in ourselves. And we need to continue to be the best version of ourselves. Now, the good story for me personally is the fact that during COVID, I've actually lost weight. Almost 15 pounds during the time of COVID because I focused I stayed steady, and I made sure I prioritized that as being one of the things that I wanted to do and make sure that I was focusing on moving forward. Right? That's easier said than done. And it took a lot of work and a lot of dedication. Just like my wife, every day during the whole entire quarantine, she goes out for a run. Every day, 70 some odd days in a row, she's gone out for at least a mile a day and gone for a run, a walk, or whatever. And she's gone for it religiously across the board. So she started to lose some weight. She's actually gotten slimmer in certain areas. So she feels good about herself and the accomplishments that she's putting together. And we didn't let this thing hold us back into continuing to move forward and achieving our goals and our aspirations. Because life keeps going even if you feel like it stands still. Now, if you're in a place where you did stand still and you maybe gained weight or you haven't exercised the way you wanted to or you haven't visited or anything like that or within the confines of what the state regulations are and everything else, but if you're in a place where you feel like you failed during this whole entire time, that's okay too. Okay, the reason that's okay is because we're not perfect. And we're not going to be perfect. No matter what we're doing and no matter where we're going, we're never going to get to a place where we can say perfection is who I am. That's my middle name. My name is Shane Perfect Lakita. No, that's not my name. As a matter of fact, if you really want to put a middle name in there, it's imperfect. That's really what we are. All of us. We're all flawed. Every single one of us. And that's okay. Because at the end of the day, it makes you who you are. It makes you the dynamic of the being that you are and who you want to become. You have to battle through some of those things of who you are to get to where you might want to go. But at the end of the day, embrace who you are. And that's what the topic of this podcast is going to be all about. I woke up this morning. I was feeling pretty good. I was feeling okay. Got up, went into the one place that I go to every day when I wake up in the morning. You get out of bed, you go to the bathroom. Now, whether you're doing your duties of going tinkle or whatever it is that you're doing, hopping in the shower, washing your face, brushing your teeth, doing whatever, putting on makeup, shaving, whatever it is that you're doing, usually 9 times out of 10, one of our first stops is the bathroom. Now, why am I bringing this up to be an important part of our journey? And what we're talking about here is being the bathroom, as being a centerpiece towards what I'm having a conversation with you about. But here's the reason why. Because as I woke up and I went into the bathroom, I looked at my mirror. And on my mirror, I have a few things posted on my mirror. These are reminders. These are self-reminders for me. On the left-hand side of the mirror, I have how many positive impacts are you going to make today? Right? For me, that's telling me what's your goal today, how many people you're going to influence in a positive fashion, and how are you going to do it, right? To be able to almost set goals around that piece of it. Because I know for me to be the best version of me, that's part of my equation. That's part of my goal setting. That's part of my persona of who I want to be and become. Am I there? No, not at all. Do I want to be there? Absolutely. And I fight like hell every day to do so. But I need that reminder first thing in the morning when I'm sitting there brushing my teeth and I look up and I see it and I'm like, okay, you know what? Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, absolutely. I got to focus on that. So that's the first part of it. A reminder of what your goal is going to be, or to be the best version of yourself. What is one of those qualities that you could put up on the mirror when you're first looking into the day and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to right size my day. This is one of the ways. What's one of the actions that you can actually take towards being the best version of you? So however you're wired, if you like to volunteer, great. How many volunteering hours am I going to get in this week? Or if you like to go work at a soup kitchen, great. How much food am I going to donate to the kitchen? How am I going to go work on there? What days am I going to specifically do that? Just to give yourself a reminder to continue to drive and strive to be the best version of yourself. So left-hand side of the mirror, there you go. There's one of your goals. Now, right-hand side of the mirror is a little different. Right-hand side of the mirror helps me to right-size my brain to live in a space of gratitude rather than things that I want to be able to do or things that I want to accomplish or whatever. It's not a dream board. It's not a dream part of the mirror, but it's a current state of reality and what I'm most appreciative of. Gratitude stickers, literally Post-its that I've put words on that are things that I am thankful for at this moment in time. Now, why would I do that? Why would I put down things that are current right now when you really want to think forward? You want to think about what direction I want to go in, which is all great. And I do that all the time as well. But this moment in the morning, I found that my most energetic and my most influential and impactful moment is when I first wake up in the morning and I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I see what one of my behavioral goals are to be the best version of me. And then I start to list out all of the items that I'm most grateful for. So these could be anything, guys. It could be good job. It could be your spouse, your kids, love, hope, whatever it is. You could put whatever you wanted to on the right-hand side of words of gratitude, things that you are thankful for and things that you are appreciative of that helps to ground you with your feet as the noise starts to happen. Because the second that you open up that bathroom door, life faces you directly on the other side of it. You all know it. You know, you could have this little cubbyhole moment. That's why a lot of people like to stay in bed under the covers or, really wrapped up in bed, because once they get out of bed, now the world is facing them and now they've got all these realities that they've got to jump into and face and fight off and fend off. Because we've all been there. Every single one of us. As soon as I leave that bathroom, I know that now I've got to face things like, credit card bills or student loans or my work-related stuff or an agenda that I've got that's probably packed to the gills with 7,000 things, some of them self-inflicted for my own personal goals, but a lot of them with my work goals, right? I got deadlines, I got meetings, I got all this other stuff. I got car issues, I got registrations coming up, I got insurance payments, I got mortgage, I got all this different stuff that's facing me and just wearing me down on the right-hand side of my brain, and it's sitting on the other side of that bathroom door. And when I'm getting ready to go out, I have to pump myself up like, I don't know, Ray Lewis, or pump myself up like a football player about to enter onto the field, because I've got to then convince myself that I can attack that and go after that. But if I'm in the bathroom and I know that it's on the other side of the door, when I'm looking at that door, I understand and realize that maybe I'm not in the right frame of mind to just go out and try to attack that noise that's going on that's out there. This is where the brain work happens. This is where you have to take the time that's necessary for you to sit down and maybe compartmentalize some of the noise that's going on and start to really be grateful and have a lot of gratitude for the things that is specifically going on in your life that you could be grateful for, that you can lean in on to be able to know that no matter what that noise looks like that's out there, these things that I'm most thankful for, these things that are in my wheelhouse of gratitude, of thankfulness and positivity and love and all those things are going to overcome all of those, because now I'm walking out going, you know what? Nothing can break me down. Nothing can break me down. That mortgage payment that's coming up, I may be a couple days late because my paycheck's coming in on whatever day. But you know what? I still have a wife that loves me. I've still got a kid that loves me. I've still got all these things that I've got going for me in my life that I can lean in on to make sure that during those darker times and during those times that it just isn't that easy, that I can literally sit back and lean in on those to know that these are my ground foundation. This is what helps to drive me and motivate me and move me forward. These things that I'm grateful for, that I know that some are caused by me, but others are caused by those around me, are the most important things in my life. Now, sometimes those gratitude moments change, right? You have to adjust them. Like pivot a little bit and take a look at different things in your life that you can actually use in the future because you're grateful for the moment that you're there. You're proud of a certain thing that you're doing, and you can use that as a strength to be able to attack any other situation that comes around. Now, I was asked the other day, I sat down, I was doing this interview with somebody. They had me on their podcast, and they asked me, you always have a smile on your face. You've always got a positive attitude. You're always a positive realist. You're not unicorns and rainbows, but you are a very positive person where you always look at the glass half full and you say to yourself, okay, you know what? How can we do this then? Even if it seems like it's insurmountable and we can't do it, how can we? And I try to play in that space only probably, there's a few reasons, right? One of them is I want to be a great example for my son. My 15-year-old kid who can easily slide down the road of being in a negative place. I want to give and be a shining example of somebody that can take a negative situation and turn it around into a positive, or turn it around to a we can do this rather than a this is impossible. So that's one of my first things. One of my goals in life is to be a good example for him. And the second part of it is I know that I'm not going to be able to accomplish the things I want to accomplish unless I have the right attitude to do so. I can try all I want to, but if I don't think that I can do it, I'm probably going to fail. So I've got to be able to lean in on those things to make sure that I do it. So when he asked me, how do you always keep a smile on your face? And how do you always keep a positive attitude about things, even though it's a positive, realistic attitude? How do you do it? And the most honest way that I can answer that question is, it is not easy at all. And I may make it seem seamless. I may make it seem, effortless or easy. But it's not. We all struggle. All of us have demons that are going on in our heads that are battling with us every damn day. All of us. We all do. Every one of us. The key to it is, can you compartmentalize? Can you take a look at so here's a couple things I want to get into. So I'm going to start rambling here in a minute, but that's okay. So can you compartmentalize some of the things that you have got going on in your life, right? So are some things really that big of a deal? Are some things that big of an issue that's caused that much drama? Or are you creating that drama in your own head to make it bigger than what it really is just because it just seems that it is at that moment in time? Or is it really something small and menial that doesn't really matter as much as what you're giving it the worth of mattering, but you can actually compartmentalize it to be able to shut that down to move it forward, right? First thing you have to do is ask yourself that question. So to keep a smile on my face, I've got to be able to compartmentalize to be able to take a look at things that are actually going on in my life and what is actually some true drama and what's not, number one. Number two is to be able to take a look at things, just like I said a minute ago, and whatever it is that's going on, change a couple words. It doesn't take much. It's like flipping the lens of whatever the viewfinder that you're looking through. You could either look at something as hellfire and brimstone, or you could just flip the lens over just a little bit and understand that there's a path that goes through that you can actually navigate. It may be difficult and you got to walk through that fire, but you're protected and you're able to walk through it. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a hard and windy road, but when you get to the other side, it's going to be amazing and you're going to learn a lot from it. You're going to be able to do whatever you have to do to be able to push forward. Now, it's easier said than done for me to be able to sit down and say, make sure you learn from your mistakes and make sure you learn from all the trials and tribulation. But this is one of the reasons why when this podcaster asked me the question, how I keep a positive attitude, that's how I do it. I compartmentalize, and then I take a look at whatever situation that's there, and I've got to look through it in a little bit of a different lens. I'm not saying that you have to change your lens or view of everything that you can accomplish, because there are some things that we just can't do, even though we want to tell ourselves that we can, right? So I'm not saying I can do anything, right? I mean, I have lived in that space of saying you can do anything you set your mind to, because I do think you can, but there are certain things that are impossible. So I'm not going to live in the world of impossible. What I am going to live in is the world of realism and say to myself, okay, what is the path going to look like? Is there going to be difficulties? Is there going to be trials and tribulations? Is it going to test my patience? Is it going? So I can kind of already start to prepare myself for what that path looks like on the way to trying to be the best version of myself. And I know what kind of distractions might get in the way. And I prepare myself for those distractions. I prepare myself for the moment that I can sit back and say, okay, you know what? I saw this one coming. And then even if something comes up that I didn't see coming, I'm still more prepared for it because I'm expecting the other thing to happen. So I'm able to bob and weave, be able to adjust and pivot and do the things that I have to do to be able to overcome it a lot quicker and faster and more effectively. Guys, this is such important stuff when we're really looking at just a day-to-day operation. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to do? So you set your goals for the day, you sit down, you're looking at those things, and then here I am. Okay, we're going to go back to the scenario of me sitting in my bathroom, and I've got my words that I've got gratitude going on, and I've got the one thing that I really want to focus on in the behavioral aspect of me being the best version of me. Now I'm ready, right? I'm ready to open the door. I start to open the door, and the second I get outside, some kind of crap happens and it's thrown my way. Oh, the kid's got to get driven here. Something's going on there. I know you got to go to work, but we got to go to the hospital. Somebody cut their foot, blah, blah, blah. All these things come at you left and right all this noise just starts flinging at you almost purposely, like life knows that you seem to think you have everything under control, but you really don't. And here's how I'm going to throw this at you. Now, when I walk out of that room being grateful and having gratitude and knowing why I do the things that I do and the whys and seriously, the whys of what I'm doing and the things that I'm doing, I'm more apt to be able to take a look at whatever that situation that comes my way and just either let it bounce off my back or compartmentalize it and say, okay, now how do I prioritize this item? Now, guys, we're going to talk about this for just 1 second. Prioritizing and organizing. One of the biggest things that I learned in my job with working with business owners, with leaders of organizations in the business community, one of the biggest flaws that we have, everybody has, is organization and prioritization. So organization might be, how do you effectively run your day without letting your day effectively run you? So you got your organization skills. What's my plans for the day? How many things do I have? Let's get this organized. Let's map it out. What kind of bullet pointed items can you have? Everything drilled down to getting a cup of coffee, to kissing your wife or husband, to whatever it is. You've got all these things you're starting to organize. And you're organizing it all together. It looks really pretty. You kind of feel like you're accomplished. You got everything all organized. Okay, I'm in a really good spot. Now, prioritization is the second most important part of this. Because you have to really, truly ask yourself the question, is this super important to me? Is this item that I'm talking about going to accomplish super important to me? Just like I said a minute ago about the whole ask the question, is this as full of drama as it really seems? You have to do the same thing for the actual prioritization of the goals that you want to accomplish for the day. So you got your organization skills going. Okay, good. I got a good framework of all the things that I have to accomplish. And then you start to think to yourself, what's most important to me, number one? What has the most value to me? And what could be the hardest thing to accomplish? And then what's the easiest thing to accomplish? Now, some people go the whole route of going to attack the easiest things first so that they can check things off the list and they can move all the way up towards the hard. I believe that you can do those along the way, but here's the thing. If I prioritize something as being a difficult item, but also a super important item, imagine the way you feel when you accomplish that super important and difficult task that you want to be able to set for yourself. Imagine the euphoric feeling of going, damn, I'm worth it, and I worked my tail off getting there. This is amazing. Now, all this other stuff doesn't even matter. I can literally attack any of these things because I captured Goliath of my day. I captured the mountainous, whatever it is, the rocky terrain that I knew I was going to go through, and I got it. Or even if I got somewhat there to be able to accomplish it. Because remember, perfection isn't possible. You might have a goal set, but maybe you achieved 75% of it, and that's actually a huge win in the situation, right? You got to be able to evaluate that. So organization, you take all the things you want to be able to accomplish, you organize it, you map it all out. Okay, great. Now you prioritize from 1 to 10, if you got 10 items on there, 1 being the top priority and 10 being the least. And then you can even prioritize it to be in the fact of most difficult. So if your number 3 item is still pretty important because it's up near the top of the list, but it's the most difficult, do you want to attack that first? Whichever direction that you go in, whether you want to attack the least difficult ones and then move your way up to the top one, whatever direction you choose into doing it, there's no wrong answer here, guys. The key to it is that you're organizing, you're planning, you're prioritizing, and you're making your day more effective so that way you can truly start to take the path of being the best version of yourself. So hard. Extremely difficult to do. But so utterly important. Like, we legitimately probably could solve 1 million of our problems in the world if we just did these things. Organization, prioritization, come together in a collaborative effort to be able to understand, to fix a problem and be able to attack that problem and be able to get in front of that problem and be able to do it until the problem's fixed and then move on to the next important item that we've got to be able to get into. Even though all of us are probably multitaskers, all of us probably want to accomplish everything at one time and achieve all of our goals and do all our things. But at the end of the day, folks, that's not realistic. We're not born to be multitaskers, even though some of us are like, I'm super proud of the fact that I can do 15 jobs at one time and I can juggle 17 papers and handle 3 kids and all this other stuff, when we're really not wired that way. So the prioritization piece of it needs to be, okay, what is my high priority item? And here's the last thing you want to think about as you're doing organizing and prioritization. You have to think of what plan B is, guys. If you have now organized it and now you've prioritized it, and the number one item that you're going to focus and work on now you've got to come up with a strategy of how to be able to do it. How do you go and attack the thing that you want to be able to attack? How do you go achieve the things you want to be able to achieve and accomplish the goals that you want to be able to accomplish that's at your high priority item on your list? How do I do that? Well, here's how I might do it. Plan A, go from point A to point B to point C to point D, right? Perfect little world, no noise, no nothing. Okay, what if this happens? Oh, okay, then I got to go to point A to point B to point F to point G to point K. Okay, great. So what if this happens then? Do you go back to plan A or do I go to plan C now, which is A to B to Z, back to L, over to M? See what I'm saying here? You got to come up with a strategy that's going to be able to actually attack the goal, but you also should try to prepare in your mind what your plan B, C, or D is with that planning or whatever you're doing. The strategy session of you trying to accomplish those things is super important because, like I said earlier, if you're ready and you're willing to be able to know that stuff's going to happen and bumps are going to happen on the road, and it may not be as fun or easy or gliding or anything as what you might think that it should be, then you're more apt and you're more prepared to be able to overcome any adversity that comes your way because you are open-eyed and open-eared to be able to get there. Pretty passionate today about this because when I woke up, even though I was feeling okay, I used those things that were written on my mirror to prioritize my day, to be able to say, okay, remember who you are. Right? Fundamentally, you start your day off by understanding what you're grateful for, what you want to work on, what's high-level stuff. And then you think to yourself, what are my priorities for today? What's my top item that I wanted to be able to accomplish? And start writing the stuff down, guys. Goal setting and writing stuff down on paper, on purpose, it helps. I trust me. It's the number one advice that was ever given to me is that if I put it on paper, it's on purpose. And I mean it when I put it on paper. So you start to write these things down, your goals for the day, what you're most grateful for, all those things. I don't really even care if you use your mirror as like a war room. Like put 7,000 stickers on there. It doesn't matter. Whatever it does that works for you to be effective at what you're trying to be able to work on and how you want to be effective at being the best version of yourself, do it. Do whatever it takes to be able to prioritize, organize, and start to actually chip away at some of the goals and stop letting life run you, but rather you run your life. You be in control. You do the things that are necessary for you to do to be the best version of yourself. You accommodate and do whatever you have to do and come up with plans and contingency plans towards working towards that, because the second that you start to check some of those things off the box and off your list of things that you want to be able to accomplish, how good are you going to feel? You're going to feel accomplished. You're going to feel valued. You're going to feel proud. You're going to feel like, oh man, I can take on the world now. Because you're actually doing something that matters. Because it all stems back to what the whole bathroom conversation was. It stems back to what am I most grateful for and what's the most impactful thing that I can do in my life to be the best version of me. All that prioritization and organization leads into those things because those are the most important things to you. Those are your whys. Those are what you're appreciative of and those are what you care about the most. And this is why we're making these planning things and listening to podcasts with me rambling right here on this podcast with you. You're worth the investment, guys. I'm worth the investment. Every day that I put the work in, it's worth the work. Because at the end of the day, I have positively influenced someone's life in some form or fashion, whether it's my spouse, whether it's somebody on social media, whether it's somebody anywhere. I've impacted somebody in a positive fashion, so there is a life goal of mine, and now I'm successful. I hope that all makes sense to you. I hope that you go out to Office Depot or Staples or wherever else to go buy yourself some Post-it stickers and start to write down the true things that you're appreciative of, that you're proud of, the life goals that you have and whatever, and start sticking them around your mirror to remind you in the morning when you first go in there. And it doesn't have to be the mirror. It could be the fridge, the first place you go into to grab some creamer for your coffee or whatever. And all you have to do is look at them and glance at those words to understand, oh, you know what? I got to get my mind right and get it in the right place and get it tight to be able to move forward and do the things that I have to do. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate all the listeners that are out there. Do me a favor, if you enjoy this podcast, if you like it, if you're passionate about it, share it with your family and friends, guys. Share it with everybody you can, whether it's through Apple iTunes or whether it's through Spotify or Google, any of the platforms. Do me a favor, share it, and then let me know that you shared it so that way I can try to welcome some folks that are coming on board. Here's another great thing I got going on for everybody. Some of my newest patrons that are about 3 months or 4 months into being patrons of the show are just now going to get shipped out this week. Some of the tchotchkes that they've earned for being patrons. So I've got some mugs going out. I got some t-shirts going out. I got some other things going out for the podcast here that is really just a way for me to connect with listeners and people that support me. If you are interested in becoming a patron of the show, just do me a favor. Go to www.patreon.com/liquidcoffeetalk, all one word on that last one. And I'll also post it right into the body of this episode here. You guys can log in, become a patron. You can be a $2 patron, you can be a $5 patron, you can be a $10 patron, or you can just do a one-time donation or whatever you want to do. But you can earn different rewards for being a patron that's on there. Also, special podcasts or special notes from me to be able to help you in your journey and us moving forward, okay? Have a great day, everybody. Let's go out and let's do really great things. Prioritize, plan things out, come up with some contingency plans, and make sure that you are quantifying your true meaning of who you want to be and what you're most appreciative of, okay? We'll talk soon.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. Please do us a favor and leave feedback and a 5-star rating on whatever platform that you use.